Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us again at our monthly Green Chemistry Connections. We're very, very excited to have you all here for our wonderful presenters that we have. They'll all be discussing about the topic that we have for this month, which is the At the Bench Incorporating Green Chemistry Modules and Beyond. So we're very excited. And before we get started, as I think Chloe might have put in the chat already, this meeting is being recorded. While the video will mostly focus on the presenter who's presenting and their slides, if you participate in the discussion, your voice, your audio, or your video feed might be included in the recording. So by participating in the discussion, you're giving us consent to be included in the video. And that's all I wanted to say. So welcome. Okay. Okay. We'll do a quick introduction of the team. So my name is Gagan. I'm a graduate student at McGill University. I'm actually joining you from Vancouver, Canada today. I'm at home visiting my family.
And I'm Sarah. I'm also one of the Green Chemistry Connections organizers, and I'm also a graduate student at McGill University in Canada.
Hi, everyone. Like Gagan and Sarah, I'm also a graduate student at McGill University, and I'm calling in from Montreal, Canada as well.
Hi, everyone. I am Cíntia Milagre. I'm calling from Araraquara in São Paulo, in Brazil. I'm associate professor and co-organizing with these amazing girls.
And we do also have another organizer, Dr. Ole Shalape, who isn't able to join us today, but has helped organize this as well.
So we just want to acknowledge our sponsors. This Green Chemistry Connections is brought to you by the support of Millipore Sigma as well as ICL. And we're just going to start with a land acknowledgement. So as you already mentioned, a number of us hosting are currently in Montreal, Canada. So we just want to acknowledge the land we're on. McGill University is located on land which has long served as a site of meeting and exchange amongst Indigenous peoples, including the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe nations. McGill honors, recognizes, and respects these nations as the traditional stewards of the lands and waters on which we meet today.
And then since Canada is bilingual, especially in the province of Quebec, so I'll read out the acknowledgement also in French now. Alors, l'Université McGill est sur un emplacement qui a longtemps servi de lieu de rencontre et d'échange entre les peuples autochtones, y compris les nations Haudenosaunee et Anishinaabe. McGill honore, reconnaît et respecte ces nations à titre d'étendard traditionnel des terres et de l'eau sur lesquelles nous nous réunissons aujourd'hui. Thanks.
And in the spirit of reconciliation, we pay respects to the indigenous people of Brazil, who are the first knowledge holders of its land. Presently, this meeting place is still home of more than 3,000 indigenous nations, and we honor, respect, and celebrate the diversity of peoples connected to this land.
Okay, and then just some logistics for the meeting to get started. If you would like, you can rename yourself to include your pronouns in your name. That way we can address everybody in the way that they identify and be respectful. Additionally, you can activate live transcriptions by clicking the CC button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. So whatever we say can be transcribed. And additionally, the slides and the transcription will be available after the connections through the recordings, so which you can access later.
So we also just wanted to go through the code of conduct for the Green Chemistry Connections. So it's important to us that everyone here feels a strong sense of belonging and everyone feels welcome here. And we expect everyone to maintain professional, respectful, and considerate conduct and being mindful of everyone joining here, the attendees, the speakers, and be mindful to not interrupt or disrupt presentations. And we will not tolerate any unacceptable behavior such as harassment or discrimination or any retaliation. If you do observe any of this behavior, please reach out to one of the organizers. They'll handle it accordingly.
And now that our introductions are out of the way, I'm just going to give a brief overview of today's agenda. So in the first half of the event today, we'll have two wonderful speakers, Dr. Barb Morra and Dr. Danielle Blaho. And then following that will be some breakout rooms and then a short break. And after this break, we'll have 3 more speakers, so Dr. Veronica Zhang and Dr. Liz Day, and then Patrick Pendorf, who is with Readvance. And more breakouts.
So our first speaker is Dr. Barb Morra. So she is an associate professor in the teaching stream in the Department of Chemistry at the University of Toronto. Barb's passion for chemistry and teaching translate into her pedagogical research and curriculum development initiatives, which have resulted in a suite of research-based laboratory experiments, activities, and technological tools that help undergraduate students connect chemistry with research and applications. To further these efforts, Barb actively works with undergraduate and graduate students in pedagogical projects. Barb's interest in green and sustainable principles has led her to transform chemistry education within her department through a variety of initiatives that have been recognized through the Green Chemistry Commitment Program. Her role within several international green chemistry programs has allowed her to foster a green chemistry education community that empowers global educators to make meaningful changes in their teaching. Examples include her roles as an assessment consultant for the Green and Sustainable Chemistry Education Module Development Project and curriculum developer for the Toxicology for Chemists Program.
Thank you, Sarah. That's quite helpful. Okay. All right, you can see the screen all right? Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm here on behalf of my whole department, so I'm going to be speaking about things that I've done, but also what other people have done. So I just wanted to make sure that credit is given where it is due. So I was assisted by 2 colleagues of mine, Andy Dix and John DeBaker. John is a new faculty member in our department that we're very excited about. And one thing that I just wanted to mention is during his hire, we made it a requirement that whoever we hire has a strong interest and pedagogical initiatives planned in the world of green chemistry and sustainability. And so that's my first sort of tip that I wanted to give those who might be in a position where they are hiring someone new, because I think it's really important that departments and institutions in general are very transparent about the types of initiatives we want to push forward. So Andy, myself, and John, and others in our department have put quite a bit of effort into integrating more green chemistry and sustainability into our undergraduate courses and programs. And so since Andy and I are organic chemists, largely be talking about that, but John is an inorganic chemist, so I'll be touching on that as well. Before I start, I wanted to acknowledge the work, the land in which this work was done. So this is the University of Toronto, St. George campus. For thousands of years, it's been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and most recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit River. And it's still where many Indigenous people work and live, and we're very grateful to share this land. Oh. Now, I wanted to give a quick snapshot of sort of the system that we have in our department. Centrally, you can see in green, we have a variety of undergraduate programs that have green chemistry and sustainability woven throughout. We don't like to call any of our courses green chemistry courses because it's just chemistry. And so we do have all of that woven in between. We have a number of undergraduate courses that help support those programs. Of course, I suppose the easiest ones to implement green chemistry are through our laboratory experiments. And just recently, a couple of years ago, we introduced a new focus in green chemistry. So in the center here, and that's a designation that our undergraduate students can earn if they take a certain number of courses that have what we call, a minimal threshold of green chemistry and sustainability woven throughout the curriculum. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. But what I wanted to highlight with this slide is how we as instructors can achieve our goals of implementing new and exciting curricula that have green chemistry and sustainability woven throughout, it's not that we're working in a silo. We are supported by many different people. And so if you are trying to implement things into your own courses, into your own programs and departments, it's important that you start creating some of these relationships, because there is a lot of resources out there. For example, the GCTLC, getting some cool relationships going with the lovely folks at Beyond Benign, as well as the ACS GCI. There's a lot of support there that we've received and that many others can receive if you have these kinds of goals in mind. We also have very vibrant and motivated graduate students and undergraduate students in our department who have launched a program called Green Chemistry Initiative. I'll talk about that in a little bit. It's a graduate student-led program in our department, and I think it really speaks to the dedication and the culture that we have in our department to continue green chemistry and sustainability. Now, here is a timeline. I certainly won't go through all of it. There's a lot here, but this is our departmental green chemistry education timeline. And I wanted to just highlight that it started back in 2000. And so this has been a long time going. And the point is that we have received a lot of support along the way that you should also try to get if you want to do similar things. And another thing I wanted to highlight here with this timeline is that momentum was really generated throughout the years and with that support. And so, for example, back in 2000, Andy Dix started green chemistry initiatives in our department by simply cutting the scale of all of our undergraduate labs. So that's where we started. But then the ball started rolling and we started implementing new experiments into our second year program, then in our third year program, then our first year program. Around that time, the department really started to emphasize the importance of sustainability and green chemistry initiatives. And so that's where the graduate students in our department began a new club. It was just a small club at the time. Now it's a major program. In 2016, that momentum continued and we joined the GCC through Beyond Benign. And then we started making external partners with Beyond Benign and GCI. So it's important that that momentum continues in our department, but also we want to give back to our community by creating resources and experiments to share with you all and with the platforms like GCTLC. So if you are looking to make changes in your own curricula, I think it's important to reach out to others like myself and others in our department for support. And so we can really help each other. Now, I wanted to give some examples of some labs that we've implemented in our department. We do have quite a few green chemistry experiments in our first year program that have green chemistry and sustainability principles. But just in the lieu of time, I won't talk about our first year program. I'll skip to our second year program. And so our students, after doing one semester of organic chemistry in their first year, they do another semester of organic chemistry in their second year. And so this is the course that I'm talking about here. We have approximately 125 program students. It's a very lab intensive course. And so within our 12-week semester, they conduct 11 organic experiments. And these experiments all have layers of green chemistry and sustainability woven through them. Some are as simple as doing some reflections. Is this experiment green? How could it be greener? Comparing it to other literature examples. Others, students will do some metrics calculations. And then in this, I'll give two examples of where they are making decisions based on what they know from the literature and including more green chemistry principles. So those are major key learning objectives within this course. Now, the first example here is unpublished work, hopefully not for long, but this is an example of where I throw my students as a class to work toward a particular research goal. And so I tell them that the entire class has been hired by a pharmaceutical company, and their goal is to create a new green oxidation reaction. And so we just start with a simple alcohol, and they oxidize the alcohol using a variety of reaction conditions. So they can change the solvent, they can change the reagents, the reaction temperature, catalyst loading, all sorts of different variables can change. But then as a group, the entire class votes on what they think the optimal reaction conditions are based on a variety of things. And these are like real world applications where they need to consider yield, purity, how much waste was created, how much energy is consumed by conducting that reaction, and ways to avoid hazardous chemicals. And so they come up with this optimal reaction condition set. And then in week 2 of the experiment, they all have a different alcohol, and then they explore the scope of the reaction. And so they're not assessed by the success of their particular reactions, because some reactions just don't work. Instead, they're being assessed by their ability to make decisions, informed decisions, and reaching to different places to make those decisions, the literature, their own values, that sort of thing. But the green chemistry principles are an underlying theme where they need to make decisions based on that. Now, the second experiment I wanted to highlight is surrounding this idea of ugly fruit. So you may be aware that certain choices by consumers affect whether or not companies will put certain products on the shelf. And so if apples, for example, are a funny shape, some producers simply won't put them on the shelf because consumers won't buy them. They're not the perfect shape, they're not the perfect color. And so this notion of ugly fruit causes a lot of food to be wasted before it even reaches the consumer. I can say that in our grocery stores in Toronto, this is changing. There are numerous companies now that are explicitly packaging this ugly fruit for a decreased cost. So I hope that this narrative is changing, but we wanted to highlight this as an option to conduct chemistry. And so in 1 week, we use the rind of the citrus fruit to do a particular experiment not highlighted here. But then in our second week, students perform an imine formation shown here using just the juice of the fruit. This is a very quick and beautiful reaction, under 15 minutes, room temperature, creates beautiful crystals, and you can use a variety of citrus because it has, the natural acids in it to catalyze the reaction, and the water is the solvent. And so it's a really fun 2-week experiment, and the imine formation is shown here. And so that was recently published if you're interested. Now I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about inorganic chemistry, something that I am less comfortable with, but I will tip my hat to my colleague, John DeBaker, who is very enthusiastic about creating new experiments in the field of inorganic chemistry that highlight green chemistry principles. One of the experiments that he's recently published and implemented in his own 3rd-year inorganic course is synthesizing porphyrins and undergoing metallation reactions. Now, these types of reactions are well known in the pedagogical literature, but they often require high heat, extended reaction times, and kind of nasty solvents. And so what John and colleagues did was create this greener approach to both synthesizing the porphyrin complex, porphyrin molecule, but also synthesizing the metallated complex. And so he developed a very small scale, so micro scale synthesis of a variety of porphyrins using microwave reactions. So we recently got a couple of new microwave reactors in our undergraduate facility. So this works out really nicely. And so once our students have the porphyrins in hand, they can undergo the metallation reactions using one of three processes, all of which are considered, they highlight different green chemistry principles compared to other literature examples. The first one is using a microwave reaction. The second option is a traditional reflux, but in greener solvents. So this metallation reaction is typically done in things like DMF, but he developed the reaction to undergo efficient metallation in, I think it was ethyl acetate and ethanol mix. And then the last one is a mechanochemical ball mill. So just, doing the reaction solvent free. And so all of this, again, is published if you want to read more about it, but it's a really quick and easy way of synthesizing the porphyrins and metallating it using green chemistry principles. So that was a couple of examples from our second year program. Then our students move on to third year, where we have a one semester course. It's a synthetic techniques course that some might label as a green chemistry course, but we don't like to do that. Instead, this is just modern synthetic techniques that we have a lot of green chemistry and sustainability principles throughout. And the main learning objective for our students here is to develop laboratory autonomy for our students, but also helping them make greener choices as they're designing their chemistry. So this is catering to about 30 to 40 chemistry program students, a lot of lab work. It's usually around 11 weeks of the 12-week semester. And many of the experiments, if not all, have green principles throughout. So catalytic chemistry, either solvent-free or greener options for solvents. And they're moving away from the recipe type experiments, and rather highlighting research-based experiences as a way to train our students to be more responsible chemists. Now, there is a capstone project, which is design your own multi-step synthesis, where they're given a target as lactone, and then they have to design a multi-step synthesis towards this target molecule, and then actually do it in the lab. And so they're running it this semester, which is why the slide says spring 2023. So if this was a couple of weeks later, we would have included this year's data here. But we've had about 600 students go through this multi-step synthesis. And we really emphasize that they need to be making responsible choices throughout their synthesis. Now, another more recent assignment that kind of bridges between the lecture component and the lab component is this assignment here. It's been published a couple of years ago. It's a Future Leaders in Green Chem assignment, where students are given a target amine, and they have to compare and contrast two industrially relevant synthetic pathways towards the amine. The first is a Buchwald-Hartwig amination, and the second is a nucleophilic aromatic substitution. The nucleophilic aromatic substitution pathway is something that they actually conduct in the lab. The Buchwald-Hartwig, they have to look in the chemical literature for more information about that. But they do a variety of life cycle analysis with both of these syntheses, and gather their own experimental data, compare and contrast, and then make logical choices as to which one they think should be used as the industrial process. And so finally, I wanted to use just a couple of seconds to talk about this focus in green chemistry. This is a relatively new designation that our undergraduate students can earn by taking certain courses within our programs. So after they take their first year chemistry course, it's a full year credit. They move on to second year. If they take our second year organic course and then move on to our third year organic course, both of which I've highlighted today, in addition to our environmental fate and toxicity course, they can earn this special designation on their final degree. Now, as you can see, the courses that we feel are relevant for this focus are all kind of surrounding organic chemistry. And so that's our limiting factor right now. But hopefully in the next couple of years, with the help of John DeBaker, we'll include much more green chemistry into our inorganic programming. And so hopefully the list of courses that students can take to earn this focus will expand, and we can introduce many more students into this designation. We feel that this is really important so that when they're applying for jobs later on, that companies and institutions can recognize that our students have this important knowledge and experience practicing and making decisions in green and sustainable chemistry. And so I did want to talk more, but I am out of time about our graduate students who do lots of wonderful things. I'm happy to talk about this during the breakout rooms, but I just wanted to thank all the students and faculty and staff that helped make all of this work, and of course my department for support, all of you for your kind attention, and I look forward to chatting with you during the breakout room.